Fight scenes have always been a part of cinema, literally. From the silent film era, where actors relied on exaggerated expressions and gestures, to today's blockbusters enhanced with CGI, showcasing an impactful fight on screen is an art. It blends choreography, acting, and technology into a seamless spectacle. When did people start filming fight scenes? Why don't the Japanese use guns? And why are Korean fight scenes so brutal? What do fight choreography and dancing have in common? And why do actors sometimes fight for real? In this video, we'll dive into how filmmakers create convincing fight scenes when it's appropriate to make them unrealistic, and how this thrilling craft has evolved over time.
Hit me again.
No, you hit me.
How actors fake fights in movies. Technique. How do you film a fight scene that convinces the audience? First, it's important to understand that it's more like a dance than a fight. While real fights are chaotic, every movement in a movie fight must be carefully choreographed, and performers must be well prepared. For this reason, real-life boxers and fighters often struggle in such scenes. They're excellent at delivering real punches, but not so great at controlling their movements or stopping their fists at a precise point. Sometimes they can't do it at all, which means their scene partners get hurt. Actors unfamiliar with staged combat often misjudge the distance to their partner, the strength, or the arc of their blows, which can lead to full-force hits. On the other hand, actors who practice martial arts are usually physically fit and handle the demands of preparation well. Creating a scene can take a long time, as every move is rehearsed separately before being combined into a single sequence. For example, if the scene starts with an exchange of punches, then one character dodges a kick, and it ends with a throw, the actors will first master all three elements before slowly piecing them together. This ensures the safety of all participants and avoids wasting time on failed takes. Before actors and stunt performers start rehearsals, the fight choreographer maps out the entire sequence. It must align with the character's personality, backstory, and motivations. Otherwise, the scene is just a collection of punches, throws, and grabs. The fighting style must also fit the historical period of the story and the film's genre. Blows are typically delivered 6 to 8 inches, 15 to 20 centimeters, away from the target. Closer, and there's a risk of injury. Farther, and it looks fake. This is achieved in two ways. Either the attacking actor misses intentionally, or the victim dodges the strike. In fact, it's the person taking the hit who makes the scene work. If the face is hit, the actor must convincingly snap their head back, followed by the shoulders and the rest of the body, as if a rod runs from the crown of the head to the feet, keeping all parts in sync. A stomach punch requires the recipient to fold over, while being thrown backward means they must fall on their own, with the attacker simply mimicking the toss. This approach makes the scene safer, as the attacker just follows their partner's movements. There's no guarantee that real hits will be avoided during filming. The attacking actor may get too into character or make a mistake. For example, Harrison Ford actually punched Ryan Gosling in the face while shooting Blade Runner 2049. That footage later went viral online. In Fight Club, Edward Norton genuinely hit Brad Pitt in the ear. This was the director's decision, but the specific target of the blow and Pitt's reaction,
Motherfucker! You hit me in the ear!
Was improvised. In Captain America, The Winter Soldier, Chris Evans and Frank Grillo had to actually hit each other during the elevator fight scene. Rehearsals showed that the confined space made it impossible to stage a convincing fight without real contact, so the actors punched each other hard enough to leave bruises. Anyone involved in stage combat must be prepared to take a hit. This is done through subtle movements, usually invisible to the audience. For example, when struck in the stomach, the actor tenses their abs and slightly moves back. This creates a muscle corset to protect internal organs, while the backward motion absorbs some of the force. Taking hits to the face requires more skill. A well-trained vestibular system and strong neck muscles help minimize the shock, though they don't prevent bruises or cuts. Falling is another skill that requires practice. Actors must learn how to tuck and roll, avoiding sticking their hands out during a fall, and use techniques to soften the landing, known as break falls. The simplest involves slapping the ground with one or both hands to dissipate the energy of the fall. Advanced techniques include rolls, flips, and slides, which convert potential energy into kinetic energy. These skills can even save lives during dangerous stunts. Once the moves are rehearsed, the set is prepared. Marks are placed on the floor so the actors know where to stand and move, ensuring they stay in frame and maintain safe distances from each other. This prevents wasted takes and accidents. The fight coordinator also checks for hazards. Are the lights too bright? Is the floor slippery? Anything dangerous is removed, while safety padding is added where necessary, placed strategically to protect actors without being visible on camera. Protective gear varies widely, often borrowed from motorsports, martial arts, and team sports. Back protectors from motorcycle racing, for instance, are used during falls onto hard surfaces, allowing performers to avoid injuries. But not everything can be anticipated. For unforeseen situations, actors are given a safe word. If anyone feels uncomfortable, unsafe, or injured, this unique word signals an immediate stop to the action. It must be something not typically shouted during a fight to avoid confusion. When fights involve weapons, they must be completely harmless. Props teams are required to have professional training in handling real firearms, as even blanks can cause injuries if used improperly. Camera placement is crucial to hiding fake hits while making the fight look dynamic. Kicks, for example, look especially impressive when filmed from below, even if the actor doesn't kick very high. Each fighter is often filmed separately, with angles shifted between takes. Close-ups are common as they hide fake strikes more easily and make the action feel more intense. Editing is the next step in creating a great fight scene. It needs to mimic the energy of a real fight while remaining clear enough for viewers to follow. For example, an editor might linger on a shot of a character being hit to emphasize their loss or focus on the winner delivering punches. Editing can also hide fake punches by showing a fist flying toward the target and letting the audience's imagination fill in the rest. In action-packed scenes, shots may last only 2 to 3 seconds. Slower moments, like a character pausing to catch their breath, can be extended for dramatic effect. Some directors aim for minimal editing in fight scenes, as seen in Daredevil. Jackie Chan's films often speed up the action during editing, resulting in cohesive fights with long takes that still feel high energy. However, over-editing can ruin a fight scene, leaving the audience confused or even nauseated, as in the 2011 action film Colombiana. Finally, good sound design separates a great fight from a mediocre one. Mistakes here can undermine all the work of choreographers, actors, and stunt performers. Every punch and kick must sync perfectly with sound effects, which are either pulled from libraries or recorded specifically for the scene. Sound designers get creative when simulating combat sounds. Punches might be recorded by hitting padded surfaces or even slabs of meat. The sound of breaking bones or snapping ligaments can be eerily realistic, adding to the scene's believability. How it started. The art of faking fights in movies has come a long way. Even before the invention of cinema, boxing was among the first activities captured on early video cameras in the 1880s. The movements of those fighters, throwing punches and dodging, looked clumsy and awkward, but it was a start. In 1891, Thomas Edison's company created a short film titled Boxing Cats. It wasn't meant for entertainment, but to test the camera's ability to capture motion and replay it at different speeds. The result turned out quite amusing, giving birth to what could be considered the first comedic action scene. Edison went on to produce several more such films, while in Germany, inventor Max Sklodowski shot a short featuring a man boxing a kangaroo. These films typically lasted no more than a minute, but by 1897, audiences could watch a full-length recording of a real boxing match between James Corbett and Bob Fitzsimmons. The two fighters went at it for over an hour and a half, thrilling people who were still amazed by the very concept of capturing real-life events on film. The pioneers of this new art form didn't overcomplicate things. They simply set up a camera and filmed. By the turn of the century, however, filmmakers like Georges Méliès began experimenting with cinematic tricks, like camera zooms, stop motion, and shifting locations. One of Méliès's early works involved kickboxers, though that particular film has since been lost. In the earliest narrative films, fight scenes, falls, and other stunts relied on eager volunteers. People were thrilled to be part of the magic of filmmaking. By 1903's The Great Train Robbery, however, filmmakers were using the first stunt doubles, often circus performers or professional horse riders. In 1908, the first recorded stunt fee was paid. A diver received $5 for leaping off a cliff into the water. Fight scenes in the early 20th century were simple but expressive. Without sound, actors had to exaggerate their actions to convey the drama. Plots often revolved around straightforward conflicts, with physical gestures carrying the emotional weight. Even in dangerous scenes, actors performed their own stunts, falling from heights and crashing to the ground without safety measures. One of the earliest stars of fight choreography was Charlie Chaplin. In 1914, he appeared in the half-hour film The Knockout, which also featured two other comedy legends of the time, Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd. Each had a unique approach, but the precision of their fight scenes remains impressive, especially considering the lack of digital effects. Their craft relied solely on ingenuity and skill. With the advent of sound in the 1920s, fight scenes became more diverse and realistic as the addition of sound effects and dialogue brought new depth to on-screen combat. Advances in technology gave filmmakers more tools to enhance action sequences, while the emergence of professional stunt performers ushered in a new era of expertise. Producers and directors realized that popular actors were box office gold and needed to be protected. Stunt doubles and choreographers became essential to the industry, elevating fight scenes to a professional level. In the 1940s, American films frequently featured fights in film noir and westerns. The choreography wasn't particularly inventive. Characters often exchanged clumsy punches. An exception was the 1945 war film Blood on the Sun, which showcased judo techniques, impressive stunt work, and the physical conditioning of the actors. While martial arts films thrived in Asia, Western cinema saw little innovation in fight choreography. One standout example was the train fight in From Russia with Love, 1963, part of the James Bond series. Sean Connery and Robert Shaw trained extensively with professional wrestlers, delivering a mostly convincing grappling sequence, save for a few missed punches. Over time, fight consultants specializing in various martial arts became integral to film production, and choreographers began to gain recognition as stars in their own right. This, combined with advancements in filmmaking techniques, allowed for more variety in fight scenes, ranging from hyper-realistic brawls to fantastical battles enhanced by special effects. The approach depended on the creator's vision and audience expectations. For example, the use of Steadicam in Rocky, 1976, made the boxing scenes feel more authentic than ever before. The evolution of fight scenes was shaped not only by technological progress, but also by globalization. As the world became more interconnected, filmmakers had access to a broader array of martial arts styles, making on-screen combat more diverse and exciting, while even creating new genres. Cultural specifics. Different countries and cultures portray violence and conflict in unique ways, which is reflected in their films. For example, Japan is renowned for samurai movies, where duels often carry philosophical undertones. These battles represent not just physical conflict, but also moral contrasts between characters. Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai is a prime example. Firearms are present in the film, but only in the hands of bandits, as the director viewed them as incompatible with the samurai code of honor. The noble protagonists rely on traditional samurai weapons, highlighting their virtuous nature. In China, the fantasy adventure genre of wuxia transitioned from folklore to the silver screen, showcasing martial arts. The term derives from wushu, martial arts, and xia, wandering knights. The first wuxia film, Burning of the Red Lotus Temple, 1928, inspired numerous similar productions by Shanghai studios. However, the communist government later banned the genre, deeming it socially unacceptable for promoting violence and feudal values. The torch of wuxia was picked up by studios in Singapore and later Hong Kong. The genre also thrived in Taiwan, where semi-historical, semi-mythical stories were immensely popular from the late 1960s to the mid-1980s. Films like The One-Armed Swordsman were box office hits. Its director, Chang Che, earned the nickname Million Dollar Director thanks to its success. By the mid-1970s, wuxia films were overshadowed by more realistic kung fu movies, largely due to Bruce Lee. His debut feature film, The Big Boss, followed a hero avenging his brother's deaths. Lee's films emphasized the visual aesthetics of combat, which captivated audiences worldwide. His work introduced Eastern filmmaking techniques to Western audiences, inspiring Hollywood to incorporate kung fu elements. Lee's films also resonated with anti-imperialist themes. In urban America, African American and Asian American communities embraced him as a symbol of minority resistance against prejudice, inequality, and racial discrimination. To bypass TV censorship, particularly violent kung fu scenes were shown in black and white, making the blood appear like dark water. Quentin Tarantino used the same technique in Kill Bill as an homage to his influences. In contrast to films with deep philosophical undertones, Hong Kong introduced comedic kung fu movies. Jackie Chan became the genre's leading star with his 1978 film Drunken Master. Chan incorporated techniques from Peking opera, blending traditional kung fu with acrobatic and fluid movements. This style won over Western audiences so much that the 2000s saw the creation of Po, the martial arts-loving panda from Kung Fu Panda, as a tribute to the art form and Chinese culture. In Western cinema, the focus is more on action and spectacle. Hollywood borrows the most visually striking techniques from various martial arts, blending them into blockbuster-worthy sequences. For instance, Steven Seagal introduced American audiences to Aikido, Jean-Claude Van Damme popularized kickboxing, and Mark Dacascos showcased Brazilian capoeira. The Jason Bourne series was among the first to feature Filipino martial art kali, emphasizing knife combat. Guy Ritchie's King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, was inspired by the fighting style of UFC champion Conor McGregor. Lately, Western films have embraced modern mixed martial arts, MMA, and Israeli Krav Maga. Notably, John Wick heavily incorporates underappreciated martial arts like judo and jiu-jitsu. Martial arts films have also thrived in other parts of the world. They're relatively inexpensive to produce and consistently draw audiences. In South Africa, even during the film industry's lean years in the 1980s and 1990s, martial arts movies like American Ninja were shot there. These films typically followed the formula popularized by Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon. A martial artist goes on a mission to expose a criminal gang while simultaneously avenging a fallen friend, or, more often, a brother. In South America, the leading martial arts styles are capoeira and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, often combined with elements from Eastern traditions. However, Latin American filmmakers generally prioritize storytelling over choreographed combat. Their films focus on societal issues like poverty, domestic violence, crime, corruption, and resistance to dictatorships. Consequently, hand-to-hand combat often takes a backseat to shootouts. South Korean filmmakers, by contrast, present violence with aesthetic flair that can even shock seasoned Western viewers. Take Oldboy, a thriller about a man exacting revenge on his captors. Its fight scenes, particularly the one-shot corridor fight, have become iconic. The decision to film this scene in a single take was made at the last minute. The sequence included 60 to 70 movements performed continuously over hours of shooting. After 10 takes, lead actor Choi Min-sik began feeling nauseous, but the director demanded 6 or 7 more. Korean-style violence is hyperbolic and metaphorical. In Snowpiercer, 2013, for instance, a brutal hatchet fight is shown mostly through suggestive swings, leaving the details to the viewer's imagination. In South Korean cinema, inflicting harm often symbolizes rebellion against societal order rather than a guide to action. Bloodshed is a form of ritualistic sacrifice. Firearms are rarely used, with cold weapons favored for their ceremonial qualities. Indian fight scenes, on the other hand, are best viewed without any expectations of realism. Bollywood is famous for its over-the-top action sequences, where logic, physics, and common sense take a back seat to grandiosity, spectacle, and melodrama. The goal is to offer audiences maximum entertainment. On-screen visuals must be vibrant and captivating, leaving harsh realities outside the theater doors. Modern technology in fight scenes. It's not just Indian cinema that helps audiences escape reality. Modern computer technology has revolutionized the depiction of fights in movies. With the advent of CGI computer-generated imagery, filmmakers can bring virtually any vision to life. A prime example is the Matrix franchise, where sound, visual effects, and fight choreography blend seamlessly to create a stunning spectacle. In The Matrix, wirework allowed characters to defy gravity, running on walls and flying through the air. While the technique itself isn't new, Chinese wuxia films used wires extensively. Modern methods have significantly evolved. Instead of simple ropes, today's productions use advanced rigs that provide precise control over an actor's or stunt performer's movements. The wires themselves are also thinner, making them easier to conceal during post-production. For impressive jumps, trampolines, or catapults are used to safely propel actors into the air. This technique was employed in the Jedi combat scenes in the Star Wars prequels. The moves may seem unrealistic, but in a sci-fi saga, realism isn't the point. For high-altitude scenes, filmmakers often combine stunt work with CGI. Shots involving actors are typically filmed on set with massive fans creating wind effects, while wide-angle shots are filmed on location. For example, in Iron Man 3, there's a scene where the hero rescues people falling from an airplane. This was achieved using professional skydivers who performed real jumps from significant heights, later enhanced with CGI. The use of slow motion is another popular tool for emphasizing critical strikes or evasions. When done well, as in Undisputed 3, it adds dramatic flair without breaking the fight's rhythm. However, overusing slow motion can disrupt the pace and make the combat feel sluggish. Modern technologies, when used thoughtfully, elevate fight scenes to new heights, combining physical performance with digital wizardry to craft thrilling and unforgettable movie moments. Fights in modern cinema. Today's fight choreographers have a vast arsenal of martial arts styles and techniques at their disposal. Yet, creating a compelling fight sequence isn't always straightforward. Action scenes often fall into the trap of repetitive moves or devolve into casual sparring. For example, while the fight scenes in the first Taken are realistic, with impactful blows and the use of everyday objects, the combat in the sequel feels like a series of slaps and half-hearted counters. George Lucas challenged his team with a unique task to invent an entirely new martial art for the lightsaber duels for Star Wars Episode I, The Phantom Menace. Moreover, both Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor had to master this style themselves, as Lucas was adamant about minimizing the use of stunt doubles. Another common issue in modern films is the awkward pauses between attacks and the slow reaction times of extras, which disrupt the balance of power. You've probably noticed how enemies attack the protagonist one at a time, often giving them a breather. This hesitation often stems from fears of injuring the lead actor, as seen in the superhero film Birds of Prey. In contrast, Atomic Blonde handles this trope more realistically. Charlize Theron's opponents attack with believable timing, and their slower reactions are justified by their injuries. Actors now routinely undergo martial arts training in preparation for fight scenes. Take Jason Statham, for example. While he started as an athlete rather than a fighter, he has since mastered several martial arts styles and often performs his stunts without doubles. Speaking of stunt work, or the lack thereof, Jackie Chan famously performed his own stunts, earning him a spot on insurance companies' blacklists. Tom Cruise has since taken up the mantle, executing stunts so risky that most other A-list actors wouldn't dare attempt them. However, it's not just the stunts, but the intricately choreographed fight scenes that shine in Cruise's films. Take the bathroom fight in Mission Impossible: Fallout 2018, where Cruise's character teams up with Henry Cavill's. Every move was meticulously rehearsed, except for the moment when Cavill adjusts his stance and pumps his fists as if reloading. This improvised gesture was so impactful that it made the final cut. The art of fight choreography has evolved significantly. Modern filmmakers have all the tools to craft tense, gripping, and memorable action scenes. While not every attempt succeeds, when it does, the result is cinematic magic.
I forgive you.
Okay.
Share your favorite movie fights in the comments.